incident which occurred, and where we are in the administrative investigation process. We ask that questions from the media be held as we play the video in its entirety. Thank you.
The Green Bay Police Department is dedicated to being transparent with the community regarding our actions and providing information about investigations without interfering with criminal proceedings. You are about to see video and hear audio from relevant body-worn and squad camera footage to gain a better understanding of what occurred on November 23rd, 2021. Note, these cameras do not necessarily capture everything that an officer may see or hear, and some footage may be redacted per Wisconsin Statute 801.19, so video will appear blurred. This incident is still under administrative investigation. This information is based on the details that we know at this point in the internal investigation process. Please note that our understanding of the facts may change as we continue the investigation. The video recordings you are about to see may be graphic in nature and traumatizing to some audience members. Viewer discussion is advised. The Green Bay Police Department is investigating allegations of officer misconduct related to this traffic stop. The incident occurred on November 23rd, 2021 in the Imperial Pride neighborhood. The Green Bay Police Department was contacted by the Brown County District Attorney's Office on October 20th, 2022. There were concerns surrounding the actions of Officer Matthew Knudsen, who was a 13-year veteran of the Green Bay Police Department. The initiation of the traffic stop was because the driver failed to yield a right-of-way, nearly causing an accident. On November 23rd, 2021, around 6 p.m., Officer Knudsen observed a vehicle traveling on Vader Street that had pulled out into the intersection at Manitowoc Road, nearly causing a traffic collision. In this first video clip, you will see Officer Knudsen initiate a traffic stop on this vehicle. This vehicle accelerates and turns onto Richmond Street before pulling into a driveway. The driver, who is later identified as Robert Sanchez, 47 years old, from Green Bay, then exits the vehicle and flees on foot. Other officers respond to the area to assist with the incident. In the next video, you will see when Mr. Sanchez is located on Manitowoc Road and another officer begins to follow him on foot, ordering him to stop. He appears to ignore these orders, and he does not show the officer his hands. The officer deployed a taser at Mr. Sanchez as he enters the roadway on Imperial Lane. The taser was ineffective, and Mr. Sanchez continues to flee from the officer.
Stop! Get on the ground! Get on the ground! Get on the ground! Sir, get on the ground! Get on the ground! That was my parents down there walk by the house. Sir, get on the ground! Get on the ground! Walking around the yard, what was my hands, got his hands in the pockets. Sir, take your hands out of your pockets! Get your hands out of your pockets! Where's my next unit? I need one here in Manitowoc. And Beta. kitchen. Throw your cell phone later in it. Get on the ground! Keep pushing in his pockets. Get on the ground, sir! Red Imperial. Taser, taser, taser! Oh.
At this point, Officer Knudsen left the Richmond Street location and drove to the area of Bader Street and Imperial Lane. In this final video, you will see as Officer Knudsen is approaching in his patrol vehicle, Mr. Sanchez steps out of the roadway, onto a driveway, and then a grassy area. Officer Knudsen is seen steering his vehicle off the roadway and onto the same grassy area, where Mr. Sanchez is hit by the officer's vehicle, forcing him to the ground. Officer Knudsen exits his vehicle as Mr. Sanchez is getting to his feet. Officer Knudsen is then seen decentralizing Mr. Sanchez by pushing him to the ground before taking him into custody.
Get on the ground! Put your arms behind your back. Put your arms behind your back.
I just had one foot. I had no breath. I can't breathe. Reach in the jacket pocket. I can't breathe.
What's your name?
Emerson.
Why'd you run?
I'm scared.
Somebody go over this vehicle. Is that over Richmond?
I'm scared.
Scared of what?
Guys, you're starting to run.
Okay, catch your breath. You're not injured. Okay? Push you to the ground. You're not injured. Catch your breath. What's your name? Robert Sanchez.
Yeah.
As of today, the Green Bay Police Department has identified potential conflicts between Officer Knudsen's report and the video footage. Chief Chris Davis requested an independent law violation investigation, which was conducted by the Brown County Sheriff's Office. As a result of the Sheriff's Office investigation, the Brown County District Attorney's Office has issued charges of negligent operation of a vehicle, Class A misdemeanor, and misconduct in public office, Class I felony, against Officer Knudsen. Officer Knudsen has been on administrative leave since October 22nd, 2022. The internal investigation into potential policy violations is ongoing. A determination of corrective action or disciplinary action and to what level will be determined at the conclusion of the administrative investigation process.
All right, that concludes the video portion of today's press conference. Next, Chief Chris Davis will share a few remarks before we take questions. Chief?
Thank you. Well, good morning. Obviously, this is a very concerning situation for our community, for the Green Bay Police Department, and for the policing profession. The process from here is that obviously the criminal case will work its way through the system. We have opened an administrative investigation into the circumstances surrounding this incident, focused on any potential violations of police department policy. That inquiry is ongoing. There's still some work to be done there, and then once that investigation is finished, it will be compiled into a summary report and sent to the operations division commander, who will make recommended findings on any of the allegations. And then it comes to me. I give the involved members the opportunity to meet with me and tell me anything that they need to tell me before I make a final decision as to the findings on any allegations, whether or not they're sustained, and then for any sustained allegations, what the corrective action should be. It's important, I think, to remember in situations like this that there is still due process. Obviously Officer Knutson has the same due process rights in the criminal side of this investigation that anyone else would. And then our members, as a matter of contract and labor law, have due process rights in our internal processes as well. And I have a long-standing practice of not making corrective action decisions until I have all the facts as developed by the investigation. We take all allegations of misconduct by Green Bay police officers and employees seriously, and I am committed to handling these allegations in a way that is objective, thorough, and fair to everyone involved, both community members and employees of the police department. I made it pretty clear when I got here that I would not tolerate excessive force, ethical violations, or criminal activity by Green Bay Police Department members. We have very high standards for each other in this organization, and part of having high standards is holding each other accountable. This situation obviously raises some very important questions, and I invite people to remember that every day our Green Bay police officers and our professional staff and our supervisors live up to those standards, and they go out in this community and they do really important work for this community. And when incidents like this happen, that's not, however this ends up, in this case, that's not a reflection on that day in and day out really good work that our members do. But again, part of maintaining the public trust is identifying when people get outside the lines and making sure they're held accountable. So with that, I can take a few questions and
We ask
Go from
that
there.
media outlets please state their name and who they represent. Thank you.
Emily Byerman, Channel 2. Why did it take nearly a year for Green Bay Police to be made aware of this situation?
That's an excellent question, and that is one of the questions that I'm going to want to get the answer to in the administrative inquiry into this situation.
Has he been on paid leave, or has it been, it's been paid?
Yeah, as a matter of city policy and practice, he has been on paid administrative leave since we became aware of this allegation.
I noticed that you named Robert Sanchez. Is Green Bay Police facing like a lawsuit or anything from the potential victim?
I won't comment on whether there's any litigation or anything like that for obvious reasons. That's not something I'm at liberty to comment about.
Are any of the other officers being looked into for any actions that were taken on that day?
I also want to be very careful not to get into a lot of details in an open administrative investigation. What I will say is that we are conducting a very thorough and comprehensive investigation into all of the circumstances surrounding this incident. And so part of that inquiry would be identifying any potential misconduct by a Green Bay police member.
Do you know if any past, we know from 2018 that this same officer was also involved in some other investigations that were done, and he was reprimanded for actions. Is that going to be taken into account with him potentially still being a police officer with Green Bay Police?
So in employee discipline cases, one of the things that I will consider if we get to the point where there is a sustained allegation in this case, it would be appropriate for me to consider previous disciplinary history in making a corrective action decision in this case. But we're not at that point in the process.
Sure. Do you know how long that process will take roughly, when we could have an answer as to whether he's still with Green Bay Police or not?
The administrative process, the administrative investigation is underway, and like I laid out, there are steps yet to go in that process once the investigation is done. It's really hard to estimate how much longer it will take because especially in employment matters and in the kind of internal affairs investigations that we do for policy violations, we have to make sure that we exhaust all the leads and get all the information that's possible to get. So those tend to be very thorough, very long files to read.
Will you guys be using that video then to also, as part of like education training at all, because of actions that Matt Knudsen did that maybe he should have done different de-escalation tactics?
It's a little early to say, but in general, I will say that we do look for good materials that teach lessons that we can all learn from. But it's a little early to say how we'll use that video in this case.
Questions from other media?
Lexi Schrader, Fox 11. Looking at CCAP records, it looks like Robert Sanchez's charges were actually dropped from that day. Do you know why?
I don't. That would be a question for the district attorney's office.
Chris Doug Schneider from the Press Gazette. Can you speak to Officer Knudsen's disciplinary record, his commendations, things that might color the department's thinking in pursuing the investigation?
Well, the investigation as into what happened really doesn't have anything to do with an employee's history. You can have an employee with a significant discipline history who we find out in an investigation on a new allegation didn't do anything wrong, and sometimes you can have an employee who has a spotless record who you find out did do something wrong in that case. And so the investigation cannot ever take into account or be prejudiced or biased in any way by the officer's history. Where their history comes into the equation is later on if allegations are sustained in determining corrective action for those new allegations. And that's the principle of progressive discipline would apply, as well as aggravating and mitigating circumstances. And so if someone has dozens of commendation letters in their file, that may be a mitigating circumstance depending on what the underlying allegation is. And if they have a corrective action history, especially for something similar, then that would be an aggravating circumstance. But as far as the investigation into what happened goes, that is strictly based on where the facts lead us.
I appreciate the context there. Can you speak then generally to Officer Knudsen's history within the department?
It's really inappropriate for me to do that at this point. I mean, I know that there has been some corrective action history, and then I know that he's done some really positive work over the years, but getting into much more detail than that, I'm really not comfortable doing at this stage in this case.
Lucas Hansen, WFRV. Did the individual being arrested in the video ever directly contact the police department indicating that something may have been ethically an issue during the arrest?
That's a difficult question to answer without getting too far into the administrative investigation. What I can tell you is that no formal complaint was ever filed, but that's a little more complicated question that we still have some details to flesh out in the administrative investigation.
Emily Byerwich now too, real quick one more time. Do we know, was Robert Sanchez, did he report any injuries from that night?
That's something that I can't comment on because it's really not appropriate for me to comment on any injuries in the first place, and then again just the ongoing administrative investigation and the policy implications of any injuries.
Okay, that'll be all for questions. Any media wishing to check out a copy of today's video may do so upon exit. Other than that, thank you.